Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'd. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Brothers first and sisters, I am very thankful to Allah the Almighty to have the privilege and honor to speak to you tonight for a few moments on behalf of this wonderful masjid. It's Baytullah. You can call it Manhattan Masjid or whatever you want to call it. It's Baytullah. It's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers, I want to let you think a little bit about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how Allah works in a really powerful way. If you look at Imam Ayub there, he is like me. He is an African American. I have many, Imam Sheikh, I have many identities. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. Ana Afrikiyun. I am an African. Ana Amrikiyun. I'm an American. Ana Aswad. I'm black. All of these things that we have. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look how He works in irony. There's a book that I recommend you to get. It's called The Servants of Allah. Servants of Allah, Africans enslaved in the Americans. Written by a woman named Sylviane Diop, D-I-O-U-F, Diop. Sylviane, like Sylvia, Sylviane Diop. Servants of Allah. You know what she said? I'm going to give a short history lesson, and then I'm going to ask for some money, inshallah. You thought I forgot about the money, right? She talked about the slaves who came from Africa. Many of them, as documented, were Muslims. Many of them from West Africa, they were Muslims. Some say as many as 1/3 of the slaves were Muslims. And she talks about her book, the extraordinary experiences of these slaves. Horrible condition. It was so bad that some of them would chain themselves up to one another, and on the slave ship, they would jump off the ship and commit suicide. That's how bad it was. The slaves worked so hard. You know, they have this labor movement. And they tried to make the condition of the laborers, they tried to make it good. But when you talk about those slaves, how long did they work every day? Malcolm Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, he said they worked from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. 16 hours a day they worked. And they said the slave woman, she was pregnant and she worked in the fields until 1 week before her delivery. Life expectancy in our country at birth, maybe 79 years. The life expectancy of a slave, 20 years. They said the first year of the birth of a slave, half of the babies died. Unbelievable conditions. But you know why I mentioned that? As bad as the condition of those slaves were, it was documented that many of them fasted in the month of Ramadan. When Allah gave them every excuse not to fast, they did it, and they did it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah works in strange ways. How? Sheikh Mustafa, I just found out recently that there are 64 masjids in the Bronx. 64 masjids in the Bronx. And of the 54 masjids in the Bronx, 49 of them are African Muslims. And it is said that there are 200,000 African Muslims in the Bronx alone. Our masjid, Masjid al-Taqwa, this year, our 30th anniversary. 30 years ago, 25 African Americans opened up Masjid al-Taqwa in the worst part of the city. I said how many African Americans? 25. What percentage of Masjid al-Taqwa in 1981 were African Americans? What percentage? What percentage? 100%. How many people? 25 people. If you go to Masjid al-Taqwa today for Salatul Jum'ah, we squeeze in 1,300 Muslims. How many today are African Americans? Maybe 20%. So Sheikh Mustafa knows he's there every Thursday and Sunday. Sheikh Mustafa knows that Imam Siraj Wahajj is the African American Imam over the immigrant community. You didn't get it. Now the percentage of African Americans at Masjid al-Taqwa may be 20%. They started it in 1981, what percentage? 100%. So every day I ask, every once in a while I ask, how many from Bangladesh? Oh, many brothers raise their hand. How many brothers from Egypt? Many brothers raise their hand. Then I ask the question, how many brothers from Guinea? Allahu Akbar! So many. From Sudan, from Senegal. And I like that other one better. I like it better.
You like this one?
Yeah.
I like the one I had.
Small one.
You guys better give me some mic, man. We need some money for some mics.
Where you be?
Now, and many of those former slaves, like Imam Ayub and Imam Siraj, Imam Zaid Shakir, Abdul Hakim Quit, Abdul Hakim Jackson, many of these former slaves or children of slaves are now Muslims. 2 weeks ago, I was in Houston, Texas. An organization called the Nigerian Muslim Association of Greater Houston. Muslims from Nigeria. They say that the Muslims in Nigeria, they love Houston, Texas because the climate is the same. I found out there are 43,000 Nigerian Muslims in Houston, Texas. One of them, Nigerian, his name Hakeem Olajuwon. One of the greatest basketball players ever in the history of this country. You may not know this, he's the #1 blocker in the history of the NBA. This brother, he's a Muslim. He's a Muslim, and this man, he made $100 million playing basketball. He made $100 million playing basketball, one of the greatest basketball players ever. New York Times, a newspaper, did an article about him, and they said he made $100 million playing basketball, and when he left basketball, he made $100 million in real estate. And they said that because he's a devout Muslim, he doesn't believe in riba. He doesn't believe in interest, so they said every property he buys with cash. Hakeem Olajuwon. So, yesterday I was in Houston, Texas. I did a program for a Muslim organization called Islam in Spanish. A brother named Mujahid Fletcher from Colombia. Muslims from the Latino community becoming Muslims every day. I did a program for him, and I said, when I come to Houston, I want to see Hakim, I want to give him salam. So he said, Imam, he's praying at Salatu Masjid Hamza, which is not far from where we are. So, after the program, we go to the masjid, and you gotta see Hakim is easy, he's 7 feet tall. So soon you go to the masjid, there he is. So he was like, to my right, about 3 rows, and I can see him. So we had the 8th rakat, we did the 8th rakat, everybody, people left, and then Hakim is still there. So I decided, after 10 rakats, I said, you know, I'm going to do 2 more, and I don't want to disturb his ibadah, so I'm going to just leave. And Allah put in my heart to just, I was going to leave. At that moment, a brother came to me named Ismail. I knew him. He was from Masjid al-Taqwa years ago. He's from Nigeria. He said, Imam Siraj, Hakim wants to see you. So we did 2 more rakats, and I walked to Hakim. I said, he looked, he said, Assalamu alaikum, Imam Siraj. Assalamu alaikum. I said, I just want to give you salams and tell you that we, the Muslims, we love you. He said, no, come outside. So he took me outside, and we talked, and I said, Hakim, let me tell you something about you. I love you as a basketball player, but I love you more as a Muslim. Why I love Hakim so much? Why I love him so much? Because this man, you know, when he played basketball, a guy named Walt Frazier, he's a Hall of Famer, you know him. He was on the radio, and he said about Hakim, they said, you know, Hakim was a Muslim.
He fasted during the game.
He said that Hakim, during the month of Ramadan, he fasted, and it's been proven that he scores more points, more rebounds, more blocks while he's fasting.